So for the agenda that we're going to be kind of talking about, I'll do a quick introduction about myself. We'll talk about the business model canvas, a success story that's applicable of like how we're going to be doing the business model canvas and how it failed, and then the metrics, key resources, and revenue, why that's critical for your passion that you have, and then the breakout activity that ties in all together. So I've always thought to myself is that if it takes a village to raise a child, what would it take to change a community, right? So what do we have to do differently? I believe in economic development through education. That's how we get people to come out of poverty and so forth, when we can educate them, but especially around the economic development portion. And I'm passionate about teaching and inspiring. So, by the way, this picture, I didn't know they were taking it, but I had taken some students from East San Jose that I teach on Tuesdays, after school program about coding, and we took them to a hackathon, and we were the only students that we were there presently, so they took pictures of us, and so I'm so grateful because they gave me that one that became a slide. So you probably already saw this. How many people had trouble like filling all of it out? Okay, and what were some of the portions that you had like major issues with trying to determine? Anybody about when you had troubles? Yes.
I didn't have real clarity about exactly who my customers were,
Okay.
and how they fit into my model.
Cool. We're going to talk about that one. All right. Good. Any other issues? You had your, yeah.
I got confused with the cost part of it.
Mm-hmm.
The
Okay.
fixed and the, like
Okay.
I don't know what kind of big money or small money I could put there.
Right. Okay. Cool. That's part of the activity. Good. Yes.
I got stuck sort of making it bigger, like I'm
Mhm.
building an application, so it's like, what are the costs? Developers. Who are the stakeholders? Developers, and then the diabetics. And
Mhm.
like, what do you need? Developers. So it's
Okay.
just
Cool.
like,
Okay. Cool. Good. 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 All right. So there's different versions, and some pieces change, but for the most part, at the end of the day, this is a quick one-pager of your business plan of ultimately what you're going to do, how you're going to do it, and what you need to be successful. So this is like a different version of it, kind of a little bit more simplified. Many people understand like who are your competitors, and that could be like other nonprofits that are doing your work, or maybe for-profit organizations. The customer segments, that's a critical point, but the partners on how to implement it, that kind of goes with your weakness. So have any of you sat down and understood my weaknesses, for example, like I don't understand enough about technology for the application. Who am I going to find to be my partner in helping me understand that part, right? Because that's going to be an issue. The sales and marketing, how many people were able to fill out that part and had no issues with the sales and marketing part? Oh, okay. So you probably saw it like this about the channels. So just another way of just saying sales and marketing about how you're going to push your product. But the thing with the sales and marketing thing, though, is that you have to understand how you're going to track your data. So for example, what would be your success stories? So a good example would be if you're trying to reach diabetics of a certain age group and you had a success story, did you have the metrics necessary to be able to use it as your model in your showroom? The revenue streams, will part of it include getting money from banks? Would it be subsidized if people have to pay like $5, for example, to use your product? How much is going to be from grants, and how much are you going to be using from public agencies? And then the cost structure, really just ultimately, what is it that's going to be your rent, for example? You have your utilities, those things, your overhead, and then how are we going to address them? Any questions on those parts? And the activity is going to be based on this, and I'll go more in general, but I kind of first wanted to quickly touch upon the business model canvas before we moved on. No questions so far? Okay. So we had a program called Good to Go. It no longer exists. And the whole purpose behind Good to Go was how do we get healthy foods into food deserts, which are generally low-income communities? And ultimately, if we get them there, how do we make sure that people are also buying it? So are we putting quality produce, for example, in liquor stores, corner stores, so forth? This was done here in San Jose, here in the Bay Area. And the only way we became successful is because we knew who our market was, bless you, who our market was. We knew that they were primarily Latino, Spanish speaking. So that was how we identified this portion here. Our sales and marketing, we understood that people who are immigrants, Latinos for the most part, love paper. So they don't really like the whole thing of did you do like Facebook ads and things like that? You don't really reach them that way. They like paper, so actually giving coupons and flyers. We were also able to track the data. Our partners is that who were the trusted agents, so we knew community services, the schools that were in the neighborhood that were able to help us there. And then the revenue streams, we knew that we got a grant to be able to pilot for 2 years, but then it was a what if scenario, what happens after 2 years. So many of us is that we love what we do, we're passionate about it, but did we think about how we're gonna sustain our program, our ambition around helping people, and how do we grow that? And it usually takes money and resources. The cost structure is that we were always trying to think about how do we scale that, but incrementally and not too fast. Many times we know that we may have a family member is the reason why we got started, and we want to make sure that we hit everybody in America. The reality is that we probably don't have the money necessary, so can we first start with a neighborhood and then move outward? So this is the Washington Guadalupe neighborhood. Up above where it says low income, that's downtown San Jose. So as soon as you cross 280, there's Ernst & Young, Oracle, Deloitte, all the tech companies and high rises. And in San Jose, the law is that you can't pass 280, that freeway, on doing high rises. And this is the Washington neighborhood area. This is where we did most of our good to go stores that I'm going to be talking about. It's known to be a prostitution on First Street. During the day, there's tons of it. You know, there's not enough police staffing in San Jose, so everybody just kind of knows it's there. It's definitely one of the 5 gang hotspots in San Jose, and is definitely a low-income neighborhood. So the demographics behind it was that we knew that about 50% never had graduated high school, so we knew that our marketing had to be very simple. So even if we use Google Translate, where we're using the words that people would more be able to relate to. See, you notice that nearly 75% Spanish is being spoken there, so were we, talking about that. We knew about the household income, and then we knew that most of them were young. So I work with these different organizations. That's my emoji. I'm very proud of that. if you didn't catch on, and so in this Washington neighborhood area, I had to use with working with youth, and that's one thing I'm going to recommend everybody is that many times the youth, like in high school, they just want to get involved, and we don't really kind of tap onto them, and we don't have any money to pay, but they just want to get involved. They need community service, so forth, and you'll see how I use the youth to like my super advantage and became a win-win situation. The Small Business Development Center, their whole thing is that they just want to help businesses start or grow. So we were working with corner stores, right? That's a business. The Neighborhood Prosperity Initiative, that's at Santa Clara University, and I knew we had grant money from Wells Fargo on how to renovate businesses. So again, I was using into that resource. And then finally, the Healthy Corner Store Initiative, I knew what their mission and vision was. Talked to everybody, told them a different story, but we all targeted the same stores, and then you'll see how it worked. So our success story, this is one of them. It's called Emmett Mini Market. Carmina, when she had just purchased it, it was a 99-cent store. All she sold was water and just any random items that she can find at the flea market. And because it was in the Washington neighborhood area, we knew that was prime real estate for her to kind of just do something. So the 4 organizations came together and everybody did a different part. We had the Healthy Corner Store Initiative that made a produce stand and did some marketing around healthy eating. The Neighborhood Prosperity Initiative, they came with their business minds, their undergrad students, and they said, you know what, we should probably be more on Yelp. We should have a Google Business Plus page. Everything was all about marketing for them, but on social media. And then we had CET students, which is a vocational school that they just wanted to learn how to practice doing construction. So we said, hey, you guys want to practice on a real stores? Salud. So then we had the high school students work with Carmina because we talked about scaling. Well, she didn't have an email address, and we noticed that we needed to start emailing her so we didn't have to drive there as much to reduce our cost, right? So again, we were thinking about how to scale without really spending much money. We spent a couple days with her. She learned how to use email. You email her today, she'll email you right away. She loves email now. And then the Small Business Development Center, we had to get some permitting to be able to make some changes. So what did it look like? So Emmett Mini Market, the way it looked like before, you can see kind of like some, on this corner right here, it would be some ice cream, like cigarettes, so forth. on over there on the right, we made it into like produce things. So from far away driving, you could totally tell that there's going to be some produce. You can pull out the awning that says Emmett Mini Market, and then fresh vegetables and fruits and vegetables banner. Before you could tell like her things was, as she started growing, there was like the chips and so forth. Then we were able to put a produce stand, and we gave her like these rugs that she really liked. We told her that this can only be used for healthy foods, so that's what she started doing, and we put it right in the middle. We put marketing throughout the store about how to identify healthy foods. And in the back, this refrigerator, is, you can't really tell, but it was not being used before. We said, what's wrong with it? She said, the motor's broken. How much does it cost? $200. I'm like, if we paid it, you know, would you use it? She's like, yeah. I'm like, but it could only be healthy foods. She's like, okay. So she said, we did that, and that's actually her sister in that picture there. And we gave her an A-frame, and she started, because she knows the customers better than we will ever know, she started doing her own promotional things of $5 coupons. And so we would reimburse her for that. So did it work? It sure did. We were able to go ahead and spend $10,000 on physical upgrades. Marketing was about $1,100. This 30% sales increase was all healthy foods, right? And that was something that she didn't have. So when we went to Santa Clara Public Health Agency and others, they said like, wow, this is really cool. Can we do more? And we kind of did, but we switched a little bit the marketing. This is Sea-Doo Market, also in the neighborhood. There's two gangs. It's Horseshoe and SSP, Sur Santos Pride. And they would always tag on Armarjeet's corner store. So what I told Healthy Corner Store is I said, hey, what if we did a mural? It's going to go ahead and help drive sales. And they said yes, but I knew that nobody wanted to go into a store that was all tagged up. And this mural that used to, this wall that used to always get tagged has this mural, and it's been a little over 2 years and it hasn't been tagged, right? So we knew that there was going to be impacting community and helping to beautify kind of what's going on. But the only way we were able to do this is that we understood that we needed to hear the comments, the people, the users. So the homework that you were given about like talk to your people, would they use your product, why would they not use your product? Getting that feedback is critical. We needed to be able to measure the results, right? So people said like, if we're gonna give you money, right, where will it go and will it work? It did. Market research, understanding how is gentrification happening, a lot here in the Bay Area with Silicon Valley, I'm not sure in the communities that you're from, but here it's a big problem that we're coming across. And in sales, it did drive sales. So the metrics that you all have to be doing, and no matter what your thing is around its social impact, is that you have to be able to measure it, go do the work, analyze the work that you did and that you measured, and then sell it. And you do it continuously over and over and over. And you can have different metrics for different funders. For example, banks, they usually they have to give back because of the Community Reinvestment Act. So they usually care more about education and financial literacy. So can you spend some of your stuff to go after those dollars, or partner up with someone if you have access to low-income folks and banks want to be able to do work there, partner up with another nonprofit and split the cash or give them a cut, whatever it may be, and that's how you can go ahead and target them. Public health agencies, they just want to get everybody healthy, and that was one of our issues, was that the funders started getting a little aggressive, and our corner stores, the goal was to just introduce 5 new products into the stores. We did. Then they said, can you do 20? We're like, it's a little hard, but I think we could do it. We did 20, and then from then on, we started going higher and higher and higher, and then it ultimately cost too much money. We didn't think about those things. Another issue was that since we told public health about what we were doing, they wanted to come with their marketing, and they're saying like, can we do this? So then they kind of started fighting. So it was just, we didn't really think about those things, and ultimately it did not sustain itself because we started kind of picking fights with other nonprofits, and don't do that. So I'm going through this rather quickly because I want to focus on the activity. And I first wanted to give an example of what happens when you're able to understand who's your audience, how you're going to capture the data, can you have like the numbers to back and justify what you're trying to do. So here's going to be our breakout activity. I'll explain the rules in a little bit. Many times we don't talk about our metrics, right? So who's our audience? That's our users, and it's our funders. Many times we don't think about who would want to fund us in the future, but we should start thinking about that now. know your data. If you don't know your data, then you can never go ahead and attract more dollars. The revenue stream. Could there be ad space? Public health agencies are always getting more money to try to put into low-income communities or just in general. And they're all about awareness, so can you partner up with them? Membership dues, can you make like $5 so people can get really engaged into it? Just so then you could show your funders that, hey, people are engaged, they're paying the $5, they would pay more, but they can't. Key resources, identifying your weaknesses, be honest with yourself. If you know that you're not good at something, all of us here are passionate, can we then go and find someone and say, can you help me with this? Hey, do you know about what application I should be using or what website? Sharing those resources are going to be critical. Where do you need the help? Be honest, talk to your friends. All of us are very proud and we want to come in here and say, we have the best idea possible, but this is also the best place to also tell, I also needed a lot of help around this. Be honest. And then what can you share? Maybe you're really good at something and you know this gentleman over here, this lady over here needs that help, and you can go ahead and be forthcoming.